Whoa. Bell upon ye. You guys know I actually enjoy MOBAs? Yeah, I would probably explain the amount of time I spend on a game's wiki, but still, I've always liked the more strategic aspect of MOBAs, even if half of it is spent getting my teeth kicked in by players that live and breathe the genre. Yet, I always find myself going back to them. With my admittedly 5,000 plus hours in League of Legends and enough mastery points on Yasuo to remove any form of attractiveness from my bloodstream, I can safely say I am familiar with the MOBA genre enough to say that they are fun, yet they are a brutal experience for those that don't know what they're doing, where you can and will get dragged through the mud if someone smells a sliver of inexperience and or fear. I've been in that exact situation hundreds of times, and to this day I still despise top lane. I fucking hate top lane. It is the place where dreams go to die. So why am I bringing this up? In this case, it would have to do with Valve's latest creative project, the 6v6 third-person MOBA set in the 1940s of New York. Today, we talk about Deadlock. Now, the thing is with me and MOBAs is I've played a bunch of them in my time. League of Legends, Smite, Heroes of the Storm, Hyper Universe, Vainglory, Battlerite, the crappy mobile League of Legends clones that allowed me to switch my brain off and slam my head into my phone screen. Yet out of all of these games, I have never played Dota or Dota 2. Not because the game's bad or anything, I just always found the idea behind learning to play Dota an incredibly daunting experience, so I've always just put it off. Valve in general has always been a company revered in praise and love for making high quality, incredibly optimized games that not only tell good stories, but also make for some of the most fun experiences one could have. Good examples of this would be Half-Life and its revolutionary physics-based engine thanks to Source, Portal, who doesn't like a bit of Portal, and Left 4 Dead. There's a tank behind me, isn't there? Alongside those games would be the fact that Valve, as I've already stated, created the Source engine, an engine that many people pair with physics-based puzzles, momentum and movement, and the fact that most of the games played on Steam either run off of or on heavily modified versions of the Source engine itself. It's just an incredibly good engine. Back in 2015, they revealed the Source 2 engine, and within the 9 or 10 years that the Source engine's second fucking iteration's been around, we have had Dota being ported to it, Half-Life Alyx, I think the Aperture Lab, the Lab, most of these high-end, high-profile games that more or less pushed what VR technology could do alongside the Source 2 engine. And now we are in their latest project being Deadlock. Oh, and Counter-Strike 2 exists, but we don't talk about that. Deadlock works like any other MOBA in terms of map. 3 lanes and a jungle. Only difference is, there is no jungle role. For some reason, like in Dota as I have learned, doing the research for this video, push the creeps into the objectives, destroy said objectives until you're able to get into the enemy's base, and destroy the enemy patron to win. Deadlock has one thing alongside Dota that beats out every other MOBA in spades: Valve's character writing and design. Something about the characters are incredibly memorable. One of my personal favorites personality-wise would be Drifter. The guy is just an immortal vampire who doesn't give a shit about anything in regards to vampire society, and he just likes a good hunt. He also speaks an Cajun accent, which just makes me think of Gambit. He also has a tendency to murder anyone lacking in the jungle with a potato peeler. We don't trust Drifter with a potato peeler. That's one of the many great characters in Deadlock, so you get to enjoy that alongside the crazy amount of depth this game has from the get-go. For one, teams are split in between the 3 lanes into duos of 2, and when it comes to farming, you have the 3 things you do need to keep track of, securing and denying souls being one of them. Souls being the main form of currency in this game. When the creeps known as troopers die, they will drop their thing called a soul orb. Shooting these orbs will either confirm or deny the orbs depending on what side you shot. You shoot your friendly souls to deny the enemy more souls, obviously, more resources, and you shoot the enemy souls to confirm your resources. They'll automatically be confirmed after roughly a second, but it's better to manually secure them as it turns out denying souls is a great way to screw over your lane opponents. The only way to actually guarantee secure souls on creeps is to heavy melee when they are low HP. The soul orb will not spawn and you will get the extra souls anyway. It also is split between you and your lane partner, and anyone else that's currently there. There's a percentage there, but you'd have to dive into the wiki to find it. The whole idea behind souls and resource denying is so much more fun than League, like in all honesty. Like most of the times you'd be sat there denying creeps in League, but when you're actually denying resources by outright shooting said resources, it adds a sort of nuance and flow to the lane that changes every game depending who you're playing, who you're laning with, and who you're playing against, alongside the soul system in general. And since we are talking about souls, we might as well talk about jungle creeps. Jungle creeps, also known as denizens, and some unbreakables will contain soul vases that you can pick up. These souls are considered unsecured souls. They do have a conversion rate at a 1 to every 100. It's secured every second. So let's say you're at below 100 souls, it secures 1 soul a second. When you're at 500 souls unsecured, it will secure at 5 a second. It's pretty easy math, actually. What you do have to worry about is if you're carrying a good chunk of change when it comes to unsecured souls, because let's be honest, between farming the wave and the creeps and going for the buffs every 5 minutes, you'll be clearing jungle camps as well, so there's a good chance you will have unsecured souls. When you die with those unsecured souls, a little orb is dropped on your death, and the enemy or your friends can actually pick up the soul orb. Another thing of note is you can actually spend the unsecured souls, but your actual main confirmed souls will take priority over the unsecured souls. So just a heads up with that. If you've got like a whole massive chunk of change, it's best to go find the hidden shop that's in the middle of the maps, or go back to base if you really want to get some items. Since souls are also tied directly to your XP system, you will also get a thing called boons, and that's where the fun in Deadlock really begins. Boons are the way you level up your character's abilities, granting them new effects and making them genuinely more powerful. The best example I could have from my limited playtime would be Vindicta and her 3, granting the ability a extra reduced cooldown, ricocheting the crow up to 2 times, and extra percentage defense shred on both bullet and spirit resistance. We'll get into those later, don't worry about it. Then there's the last upgrade on her 4, which grants an extra 600 souls on kill with said ability. I might be a Vindicta player. I just really like how she plays. Granted, I've always liked how snipers played in my games, be it the ability to one-shot or a well-timed round to finish off a wounded foe. Something about her playstyle is really fun for me. Does she get blown up by CC, any form of fast mobility and burst? Well, yeah, she's basically a very squishy glass cannon carry. Not as squishy as Haze, because she has a little bit of an escape, but still. But getting a good game with Vindicta is an experience, and a very fun one at that. Character boons and ability upgrades might be one thing everyone understands, because let's be honest, we've all played a game where you upgrade your character's abilities that gets extra effects. We've all been there, we've all done that, we've all got the t-shirt. But the items of Deadlock is where things go from complex to a whole ass sandbox. Items in this game are split into 3 categories: weapon, vitality, and spirit. Weapon items directly tie into the damage you do with your M1, your M2, if you have an alt fire anyway. Very few abilities scale for weapon damage, and your melee scales up for weapon damage. The only one I'd actually be of note would be Drifter, because Drifter's 1 scales up for melee damage, and his 1 also counts as melee, so stuff like Life Strike and all that jazz will actually proc. Basically, you get your items for this category if you just want to shoot people, a lot of people. Looking at you, Haze players. Looking at you. Vitality is considered more of the tank/defense item section, where a lot of the things you get from here are a range of debuff reduction, debuff remover, lifesteal, health, damage reduction, pretty much anything you can think of that coincides with defense and or survivability. Even some of the squishier characters ought to pick up a green item every once in a while, as it really does make a difference in the bigger fights. And finally, we have ourselves the spirit items. Spirit items, in my League of Legends addled brain, is the equivalent of building AP. Considering that most, if not all, the abilities in the game scale off of spirit damage, you'd be finding yourself buying a few spirit items here and there, especially the ones that you can imbue into one of your key abilities. Once again, using Vindicta here, imbuing her 3 with something like Quicksilver Reload, or Mercurial Magnum if you have enough souls and it's really early in the game, and one of my personal favorites being Mystic Reverb. Turns out, it's pretty good, because the damage echo is quite fun, and it procs multiple times because of the dot. Or, if you're an arsehole like Jacob Lash, play the Doorman, send them to the Baroness, set up your bells, and get ready to nuke them out of orbit. Or you can just play Lash. There is so much to go over when it comes to Deadlock, and I'll admit I am not qualified nor experienced enough to actually give this game a proper explanation that 1, doesn't sound like I'm being stupid, and 2, doesn't sound like I'm reading off a Wikipedia page like a drone. The one thing I can note when it comes to Deadlock is that it's a Source game, and we all know what Source games are like when people figure out how the movement works. There is so much movement tech out there already, and it's incredible to watch. I could personally never pull that shit off, but I'd love to try and do that myself one of these days. From my perspective, Deadlock is a fun game. Genuinely a fun game. It's an utterly bonkers experience that when played well or with friends, is an incredibly satisfying game to play. from the fun of the characters, their personalities, the ebb and flow nuance of the game that has a real tug-of-war aspect to it, unless you're getting stomped, which does happen from time to time, because that's how MOBAs usually work. Build diversity, different play styles, synergies paired with the witty charm, and all of the potential in the MOBA space paired behind the same developers that made Dota 2, I have a feeling the game will be around for a while. I mean, I'll always be down to play it if someone asks me to, or if I feel like dicking around in a bot match, because when it comes to MOBAs, I don't like playing them by myself. The game is still in its early development stages, and I'll admit, it can change very, very quickly, but it still feels incredible to play, even in its current state. Granted, it might be the honeymoon phase, or I have not gotten to the point where I could feel actual frustration. I may have only started this game recently, like seriously, I've only got like 11 hours in it. Even then, however, Deadlock has that it factor to it. This game is peak. This game is genuinely peak, and I hope more people do get the chance to play it because holy fuck, it is amazing. The big challenge that Valve would have to figure out, however, is how to introduce players that don't play MOBAs into the new game, because trying to onboard new players in MOBAs is a challenge in of itself. I know Riot's had problems with it, Dota is known for its near vertical learning curve, and any of the games that tried dumbing down its controls, well, they didn't stick around for long. I'm gonna be honest with you. Battlerite did it once, and that game died and dropped off a cliff. Rambling aside, I'm getting back to being dead on my luck. All the links in the description. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see next, and until then, it's been Azura, and I've got one thing to say. Jacob Lash is a fucking asshole.